Welcome to Bulls and Reds Advent Calendar. Let's see what's behind today's door.
Friday,
the 13th.
Bad day. The pure horror and sometimes horror on the pitch. So what's your most horrible moment ever for RBL?
I thought I have a look at matches that RB Leipzig had on Friday the 13th. And I went through all those competitive matches that you can find for all these 15 years, long tradition. And actually in the very first season, I wasn't here. I cannot remember. RB Leipzig had a competitive match on Friday the 13th. It was the 13th of November 2009. It was not in the league because at the time they had the first season in the Oberliga. That's fifth tier, top quality German football. I think in England it would be non-conference football, just below League Two. And in that time, in that season, RB Leipzig did manage to get promoted in the end. But they also played the Sachsenpokal. Now that is a cup competition that you play in your own region. In Germany, it's in your own Bundesland. In the US, it would be the state, but that's much bigger than the Bundesland. In the UK, it might be the county. And in this competition, you had teams like, Eilenburg, Lok Leipzig, Chemie Leipzig. I think even Erzgebirge Aue, they were in there as well. And the beloved club of FSV Zwickau. And FSV Zwickau, that wasn't the first time they played Zwickau, because early in the season, in the match day 2, they played Zwickau at home. I think in front of 2,600 and something spectators. You probably talked about that. And they beat them convincingly, 4-0. So a couple of months later, I had to go to Zwickau. In this cup, it was the quarterfinal actually. And they lost 3-2 in Zwickau. And they played not in that stadium that Zwickau has today, because that wasn't built at the time. They played in the original Westsachsen-Stadion. And that is the old Georgi Dimitrov Stadion, of course, which saw many, many memorable matches of Sachsenring Zwickau, so the predecessor of FSV Zwickau, so to speak, including these European Cup tie matches versus Celtic Glasgow. And that stadium actually has a cycle lane. It was a velodrome, and it was built for cycling. But on that day, only 1,063 spectators decided to watch that match, including, according to the statistics I can find, 60 from Leipzig. So not so many people travel down to Zwickau, and that's a mere 1 hour 15, 1 hour 30 minutes ride by car. And they managed to lose that match 3-2. At some point, it was equalized. It was 2-2, but they lost the match 3-2 in 90 minutes. It wasn't even overtime. So that was the only time RB Leipzig played on Friday the 13th. And I hope it doesn't happen again, because they're never going to win. What was your RB Leipzig horror?
Okay, my personal RB Leipzig horror is not that far away now, and it wasn't played on a Friday the 13th, but I just watched in this theme, this topic of Friday the 13th and its horror, and the horror I mention here is the 7-0 defeat on the 14th of March 2023 at Manchester City, and that match, just everything went horribly wrong. From the very first minute, there was the softest penalty ever. Yeah. So it feels like there are more than one softest penalty ever, as often as I talk about it. But anyway, the softest penalty ever that was rewarded against an opponent of us, where Benny Henrichs allegedly touched the ball with his forearm. Okay, to be fair, it was far away from his chest, but come on, I watched this replay like 1,624 times, and I couldn't watch in any of any camera angle that the ball even changed movement at all. So, and then there was this 2-0 where Haaland draw a foul at Bluesky, and the ref just ignored it. And afterward, there was this beautiful shot from De Bruyne that hit the crossbar, and Haaland went for the deflected ball and just had the header into the open, empty net. And so things went all the evening. And if you just bear in mind that Jannis Blaswig were the best man on that pitch.
Oh, shit.
He was indeed, because he saved so many chances. And yes, and I don't like to look back, but it's part of the club's short history. And talking about Friday the 13th and Friday 13th horror, that was my very personal, most horrible moment in club history.
I agree. That was dreadful, and I watched it as well. Well, I think on this happy note, we should call it a day.